Tonight, you might step outside, light something up, and feel your shoulders drop for the first time all day. You probably think that urge is modern, a stress habit, a bad one, maybe. But the real answer is far stranger. That pull towards smoke is not new. It is not even close to new. It is older than language, older than agriculture, older than the wheel. Your ancestors were breathing smoke on purpose long before they had a word for why. Picture the first fires. Not campfires for warmth, something smaller, something accidental. Lightning strikes a dry field, a tree catches, and for the first time, a small group of early humans watches flame do something it had never done for them before. It moves, it eats, it glows in the dark like nothing else in their world. Fire was not just heat, it was the first thing they had ever seen that seemed alive without breathing. And where there is fire, there is smoke. Anthropologist Richard Wrangham, who spent decades studying the role of fire in human evolution, argues that cooking with fire did more than keep our ancestors warm. It rewired their entire biology. Cooking with fire made food easier to digest. That meant more calories reaching the brain. Some researchers believe this single shift helped fuel the growth of the human brain itself. But cooking was not the only thing fire gave us. It gave us smoke. And smoke, it turns out, does something to the human nervous system that early humans noticed almost immediately. Have you ever sat near a bonfire and felt strangely calm, even hypnotized, staring into it? That is not just the visual. Smoke carries chemical compounds that interact with your brain's receptors. Some plants, when burned, release substances that mildly alter perception, slow the heart rate, dull pain. Long before anyone understood chemistry, ancient humans understood effect. Burn this plant, feel different. Burn that one, feel nothing. Trial and error, repeated over thousands of generations, quietly built humanity's first pharmacy. This is where the real story begins. Because smoking did not start as a habit, it started as medicine. Archaeological evidence from sites in Peru shows tobacco use dating back over 2,000 years, tied not to recreation but to ritual and healing. In many indigenous cultures across the Americas, tobacco was treated as sacred, something to be smoked in ceremony, to communicate with ancestors, to mark important decisions, to heal the sick. It was not casual, it was not constant, it was deliberate, rare, and meaningful. Why would a plant that makes you cough become sacred? Because the discomfort was part of the message. Many ancient cultures believed altered states brought clarity. Pain, dizziness, a shift in breath. These were not side effects to avoid. They were signs that something important was happening inside the body. Smoke blurred the line between the physical world and whatever they believed lay beyond it. In that blur, they searched for answers. This pattern was not unique to one place. Halfway across the world, in ancient Egypt, incense burning filled temples with thick, fragrant smoke, believed to carry prayers upward to the gods. In China, medicinal herbs were burned and inhaled as treatment thousands of years before tobacco ever crossed the ocean. In parts of Africa, smoke from specific plants was used to cleanse spaces believed to hold sickness or bad spirits. Different continents, different plants, different gods. Same instinct. Humans, again and again, independently discovered that breathing in smoke changed how they felt. Anthropologist Claude Levi-Strauss once described ritual as humanity's way of imposing order on chaos. Smoke fit perfectly into that need. It was visible but untouchable. It rose upward as if carrying something with it. It disappeared as if erasing something. To ancient minds trying to make sense of birth, death, illness, and the unknown, smoke was not just a substance. It was a symbol doing exactly what people needed it to do. If you strip away every ritual and every god, one physical fact remains underneath all of it. Nicotine, the primary active compound in tobacco, binds to receptors in your brain that are part of a system responsible for alertness, focus, and mood regulation. Pharmacologist Neil Grunberg, who has researched nicotine's effects on stress and behavior for decades, has shown that this interaction can temporarily reduce tension and sharpen concentration in regular users. Your ancestors did not know the word receptor. They did not know the word dopamine, but they knew the feeling. Calm settling in, focus tightening, a body that felt for a moment less overwhelmed by whatever it was facing. That feeling was valuable enough to build entire ceremonies around. Before you keep watching what happens next, take a second and hit that like button. And if this kind of deep dive into where human habits actually come from is something you want more of, subscribe now, because what you're about to learn next is where this story takes a much darker turn. Because here is the twist most people never learn. The sacred occasional ritual you just heard about is not how smoking spread across the world. Somewhere between ancient ceremony and your local convenience store, something changed. And that change was not driven by spirituality at all. It was driven by profit. When European explorers encountered tobacco in the Americas in the late 1500s, they did not see sacred medicine. They saw a commodity. Within decades, tobacco crossed the Atlantic and was being farmed at scale in colonies, harvested by enslaved and indentured labor, and shipped back to European markets as a product to be sold, not a ritual to be respected. The plant that ancient indigenous cultures had treated with ceremony and restraint became something else entirely once profit entered the equation. Frequency replaced ritual. Constant use replaced occasional use. Do you see the shift happening? What was once rare became routine. What was once meaningful became mechanical. The human brain, wired to respond to nicotine's effects, did not need ceremony to want more of that feeling. It just needed access. And access is exactly what industrialization provided. By the 1800s, cigarette rolling machines could produce thousands of cigarettes per minute. What took ancient hands hours to prepare for a single ceremony could now be mass-produced in seconds, stripped of meaning, and sold to anyone with a coin. This is the part of the story that should feel uncomfortable. The ancient instinct was never the problem, breathing in something that calms the nervous system, marking meaningful moments with ritual, seeking altered clarity during hard decisions. These are deeply human behaviors, present across nearly every culture that ever existed. What changed was not the instinct. What changed was the container around it. Ritual gave that instinct boundaries. Commerce removed them entirely. So when you feel that pull tonight, standing outside, lighter in hand, you are not experiencing something broken in you. You are experiencing something ancient, stripped of the structure that once gave it meaning. Your brain still responds to smoke exactly the way your ancestors' brains did, thousands of years ago, around fires you will never see, in ceremonies you will never witness. The chemistry has not changed. The context has. Maybe that is the real question worth sitting with. Not why did ancient humans start smoking, but why the ritual disappeared and only the craving stayed behind.